Hey everyone. Now I know what you all think right now, that things aren't going well for me in my channel, but you should also know that things aren't going well in my life right now. So, you see, things are getting complicated because I'm obviously not doing so perfectly in my social life, but I wouldn't have to actually care about that because I'm mostly disappointed in myself. Now let me just explain. So recently, I just been hired at this grocery store. I'm not gonna give the name, by the way. You should know what I'm wearing, so get used to it. Now, now I've been working for at least 5 weeks, but I haven't been doing perfectly with, well, one of my managers. For you see, my manager, I'm not gonna give her name, by the way. Let's just call her Jennifer Aniston. So Jennifer Aniston, that's kind of what she looks like. That's not her real name. So she basically saw that I was having an attitude between the employees and the customers, but what I really was doing, I was only being stern with myself because I'm not really much of a happy-go-lucky person. Also, I'm normally wearing my mask in work, so they couldn't actually tell whether or not I'm smiling. So after she reported this, they remotely fired me, and so far, I'd say that they lost their favorite cashier as well as their favorite customer. So it's not that I don't like them anymore. I mean, I am going to their store for groceries and stuff. They just made a mistake though, because sooner or later they're just gonna need to hire me back, but I'm just gonna get the last laugh because I'll just deny it. Unless I get benefits from them. And when I mean that, I mean I just want them to be respectful for who I am, and not just how I look. You have a table of contents in a book, you just gotta look through them instead of just looking at the book in the outside. Most people wouldn't even like that. Like Inferno by, um, I forgot the author, but you know, look it up. Now, I like to move on here, but before I do, let me just start by saying that blondes think they're so much better than others just because they're the supervisors. That's just what I think. And no offense to all the other blondes out there. I know my friend is blonde, but she's not like one of them. Going on. Now, most of you all know via Twitter, I had recently gone to PAX East 2022. Now, I'd like to make a proclamation that it is my first ever PAX trip ever. I only live like 1 hour from Boston, so things didn't seem that hard when I get there. But it didn't really go well as I thought it would be. I recently went there with Shadow, Kimberly, and stuff, as well as my dad, but things got a little difficult just going through the gate because there's one woman who kind of looks like the Scarlet Witch without the horns. She immediately stopped us after realizing that our proof of our verification for vaccination, she couldn't actually see the name on one of my dad's cards. So we were waiting there for at least half an hour just to actually get our proof we needed. And when we immediately showed it to her, she also felt embarrassed because she doubted us for a minute, and that she kind of felt like she was wasting our time because she was standing there mocking us, taking other people in, and it wasn't really that peaceful as I thought. But you should talk to Kim about it because she was out there next to the main entrance waiting for us, though she looked like really impatient with everything else. But I don't blame her. I mean, she just wants to go in immediately and see all the stuff in there, whereas I just want to go in and have a fun time. But it wouldn't actually be as much of a fun time as you think, because when we went in there were a couple of tournaments that I was only interested in, like Fusion Frenzy and Sonic Adventure 2, but I got the wrong idea of the shtick here, because when I looked online, they told me that one of the tournaments was supposed to be Mario Party Superstars, which I trained for, but they immediately had to cancel due to the fact that they couldn't bring in a whole bunch of Switches in at a time. So they had to add in a replacement for a party game, which I had no other choice but to play. But it didn't actually seem as terrible as I thought. I mean, of course, I didn't make it into the semifinals, but it didn't really matter because I was actually enjoying myself. Though, even though I lost to both the tournaments, for which the Sonic tournament, you basically were just going into the two-player mode and immediately racing into downtown grind or something. I don't know what it was, but I think it was downtown race. That was the only stage that everyone was playing. I mean, if it was City Escape or possibly White Jungle, I would have had a major advantage, but things seemed way too hard for everyone else. As hours passed, we decided to go into this Bumblebee Theater or something because there was this major event that was happening, though it wasn't really going to be major considering that it barely has that many recognition. Now, there's this game show called Double Nintendo. Now, you all think that it will just basically be like that Nickelodeon show, but it's not actually. It was basically a game show that was all 90s style. 90s commercials, 90s video games, and 90s pop culture. So, when me and Kim went in there, we were hoping to be contestants. I did all I could to get his attention, the host being some guy named Dan or Curtis, I don't know. So, what did we have to do? I just basically had to jump up and down holding Kim's hand while just twirling around my Mario hat that I got from GameStop recently. Now I'll get into the hat part later, but unfortunately we weren't even picked. So during the first round it was only a time waster. Seeing that how Double Nintendo wasn't there at PAX for at least 2 years, they were getting rusty for what they had to do, since they had a whole technical difficulty thing for at least 30 minutes. So we had no other choice but to leave, knowing the fact that we wouldn't have enough time to make it back home. But that's when I actually did feel a little upset, and Kim at the wrong time, well, it wasn't actually her fault considering I didn't want to actually be in the mood for it. She asked to wear my Mario hat, to which I said, "Are you really going to ask me that now?" And that's quoted, which had the same attitude and stuff. When we got in the car, things were getting so awkward and disappointing. Now, you see, I don't want to break her heart. Now, you'll have to know why, because she is very fragile. She doesn't want to talk about it, so I'm not going to say exactly why. But there are things that had to be done, and when I mean that, I mean I had to think about what I was going to do about our relationship. So, while I was thinking about it, I was taking a trip down to Florida with my brother. Now, it was only supposed to be a business trip because our mom needed to get a divorce on this ex-boyfriend of hers, just so she can get her last name back. But problem was, I had a business trip on my own, which involved me going to her ex-boyfriend's house to reclaim two most important things to me. My Xbox 360 that I got from my mom for Christmas in 2016, as well as my Wii U that I got from my late grandmother around 2013, or 2014, I think. Now, don't think about this as a really, really bad situation, but things got out of hand. When I felt that she wasn't actually going to get the stuff for me, she basically had no intention of reclaiming anything back from the house, which I felt like I clearly just wanted to shut her out of my life. But I know I didn't want to actually think that because I still love her a little bit, just not as a strong bond between people like Merida and um, Merida's mom from Brave. Sorry, I barely watched the movie, so I barely remember these characters. Now, going into deeper facts, I have learned from one of my mother's friends that my stuff was still there when she had went there one time. But that was during 2 years before we came back to Florida. So when we went back there, we decided it would be best that we should leave this stuff there for now until we get some more detail from her friends. And that was only a week trip we took down to Florida, but that was enough time that I needed to think about what I was going to do between the relationship with me and Kim. Knowing that I didn't want to actually hurt her in the future, if we were to actually take our relationship to the next level, I know I didn't want it to actually do wrong, but the thing is, I didn't want to have intentionally break her heart, literally. She had a heart transplant when she was young, so the main problem with that was I wouldn't actually know how to deal with this kind of scenario. We both know we wouldn't be happy if we just had gone through that whole scenario. With us getting married and having to deal with the fact that we won't be able to have kids, or neither of us might be able to get the jobs we dreamed about. So I had no other choice but to think about what I was going to do and tell her we need to be friends. She was upset about that so much. She gave me back the ring I gave her. Now, I don't think that this is the right time to say, but she started calling me a coward and an idiot just for no good reason. Now, if I was her, I would have said that she was right, but she's also wrong. A coward wouldn't actually not show up in person to tell her something important that needed to be said. Since we were only going out for 8 months, I know that this kind of thing wouldn't work out but that was only when we were going into our 6 months in. And that was only trying to go down more and more. But believe me, I did enjoy the time that me and Kim had. We watched movies, we went to carnivals, we went to buffets, though I was paying for most of the stuff. But it didn't matter to me or her. I just only kind of wished we could still be friends again. And that's it. And I didn't actually want to give her that kind of feeling that I wanted to break us up. I just wanted for her to make the right choice for herself. And to Kim, if you are watching this video, let me start by saying I am sorry for everything that I ever caused you. I never meant to actually break your heart. I only wanted to find the easy way, because you are important. So that's my life summon in April, but that's gonna have to be fixed around sooner. I'm gonna do better. I'm going to get myself another job. I'm going to be able to fend for myself, and I will be able to make things right. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I can get ahead in life, and I can do over again. By the way, if you look into the video that Double Nintendo posted, you'll see in 11 minutes or so that you'll find me and Kim's face reveals. But don't be so ecstatic about it, because I clearly could have groomed better. but that's my fault. It's just genetics that I had to deal with, mostly because I have an itchy beard.